Good. All fair.
Property duty.
Sometimes friendship. All right, we'll go ahead and call the January 28th Finance Administration Committee meeting to order. We'll welcome our newest member, Mr. Scott Harris, taking place of Kevin.
I've seen him before.
So, yeah, maybe.
I've been here, Tom.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
you were all in here a few times.
All right, we'll go ahead and call for public comments. You're not here for this
I'm
one,
here.
all right, okay. We'll move on to presentation, discussion items, update on current projects.
Mr. Parrish is already familiar with this, this originated in the OMP committee. I think Mr. Bronson's one that asked for it to be brought over to this one. So it's the same, essentially the same thing that, from the previous month. I've added a couple of other items on here that we needed to track. So on the first page, if you flip it over, lines 27 and 28 have to do with Hurricane Helene debris removal. So we've got a contractor that I believe may be finished with it now. Is that correct, Don?
Correct.
And we have a company that we have procured through the competitive process to help us with this, ICF, which they may be doing some work for some others here. I'm not 100% sure about that. But they're helping us to manage and navigate that process, since that's just so foreign for us to make sure that we have everything correct, because this will be one that we will file for reimbursement when we incur the expenses associated with it to qualify. So, other than those two things, I really can't think of anything else other than I just need to mention that, on the green and white page, row F, exit 4, the Coney Manufacturing Park, project, that the engineering for that is complete, and I've submitted a letter to go to the engineer, in this case it's Thomas & Hutton, for them to submit the packet down to Columbia. And this line was originally supposed to be a zero flow project. We worked with Thomas & Hutton. I think they had contacted Columbia on that, and they were gonna again issue it as a zero flow line, and we would do the reporting of permits as we issued them, as we made connections. And by doing that, it would allow them not to have to pay any impact fees, because, again, the way the policy is when there's a line extension performed and it hits the plant, the capacity of the plant, that's when the fee is due. So this one, 0 times whatever is gonna be 0, so nothing's gonna be due. Well, Bridget Clark with DHEC came back and said that that policy doesn't exist, and that there has to be flow attached to a line extension. So they performed some calculations, and I think that DES will allow for the project to be permitted based on the number of properties that it runs by, multiplied by 300 gallons per parcel, assuming residential connections. So I think that may satisfy her requirements. So it may be looking at, close to 6,000 gallons per day. So when I get to the point of moving forward with it, I'm gonna ask that we not, because it's gonna be Oconee County, I'm gonna request that we not require them to make that, to pay that impact fee unless they really wishes to do it, because we need flow from down that way. They need flow, we need the flow from the area, and it eventually is gonna be to serve this potential industrial park that's gonna be near exit 4. But to me, that's the lesser of the two matters. The more important of the two matters with that is that we need to have an operating agreement with Oconee County if we're gonna be their contract operator and retainer because DES is part of what Bridget wants, is they want a letter from us stating that we're gonna be the contract operator for Oconee County who's planning on owning these assets. Because Oconee County is not in that business, she states that they won't accept just a letter from Oconee County saying that they're gonna own it and contract out the maintenance. They want a letter from who's gonna be doing the maintenance from it as well, confirming that we're gonna be doing that. So that would go along with our willingness to accept the flow from the project. Well, I'm not gonna generate that letter until we have an agreement between us and Oconee County that would be enforceable. So I've already reached out, they've started the process of drawing up an agreement. The one that we have in place with them now, where we're doing the maintenance on the Golden Corner Commerce Park, that agreement that we have that was, I believe it was signed in 2019, is specific to what they call phase one of that project. So it doesn't extend beyond that.
Can that just be amended to
It can,
incorporate the additional extensions?
it can be, but I've got some questions that I think we need to figure out, and whether these need to be in any amendment or not, I don't know. But, what's gonna be the trigger for what we are authorized to procure down that way before we have to go and get approval from the county? If we have to replace a pump, we don't have the time to do it. So, is it gonna be that we have to do like for like, if we have to put out the bid and have one Xylem pump and one ABS pump? I mean, there's just some things that we're gonna have to have figured out that's gonna need to be in that agreement, what we would be authorized to procure on, using sole source. Because I don't know if the county's procurement is gonna apply to this or not, if it's for assets that they own. So, figuring things like that out or why, I think we need to kind of sit down and make sure that we have all of this done. What maintenance are we gonna do as opposed to what the county's gonna do? Because I think that they've mentioned that they've got some qualified staff. If we have HVAC issues, that they could come and do that themselves versus us going out there and contracting it to be done. So I think there's some things we just need to make sure that we get it as right as we can this time.
As a county, have you already been talking with the county about this?
I have.
Okay, I think. No pushback so far.
No, I think they want to get wastewater service down that way as well, so.
Any other questions, comments on projects? All right, staffing considerations.
All right, thank you, Ms. Myers. With this one here, this is primarily, I'm gonna turn this over to Kyle to talk about, but I'm gonna go ahead and give a little bit of information on this. This is what kind of brings us up. I got 4 little bullet points I have. So we completed the CMOM, which was part of our consent order. It was specifically required of us back in 2022 and submitted to, at that time, DEC. Then we had the gap analysis performed following the completion of the consent order, and that was presented to the board. I think it might have been at the Valhalla Depot at the January 2023 meeting, I think. Anyways, I think, WK Dixon came and presented it. So they identified needs, and it took into consideration when we expanded into the retail business, which, now we have morphed into that as well. So we knew we would need some additional staffing at that time, so that, took that into account. With the other projects we have going on, that project managers, we just have too much going for Kyle and myself to manage just the 2 of us. If we bring in a contract manager, say a consulting firm to do it, we still have to be involved with even managing them. So, and I think we're only gonna be ramping up with the more we have to do with the consent order issues that we have going on, which will be coming in the next budget request. We will be developing the total budgetary impacts in the next month or so, and that there'll be a couple positions that we have in here that we will need to have considered by Kerry Kavanaugh as how they would be slotted in our scale. So that'll need to be done when we're looking at those considerations as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and let Kyle speak, since most, if not all of these, maybe fall under operations.
So, like what Chris was.
You got a camera right
saying.
behind you.
Oh, let me move out of the way. So, like what Chris was saying, we have multiple positions that was identified in the CMOM analysis that is current positions that we have job descriptions for. We'll just be adding to those positions like maintenance and conveyance. But what I want to bring forth is two new positions that I think moving forward will be a necessity for our organization. And the first one I'm going to speak about is an electronic and instrumentation technician. So, as the majority of y'all know, new equipment, everything is now digital, and you have to have somebody that specializes in electronics that understand the working internals of this equipment and PLC programming. We currently have many VFDs throughout our system that operate pumps and things like that. They go out, they lose their programming, and we just don't currently have anybody that can go in and can troubleshoot and program these things. And the more equipment, new equipment that we get, it's just going to continually to expand. So, this person would be basically tasked with the majority of the time for working with engineers as far as getting the right equipment to standardize on the same PLC logic and understanding the programming, so we can basically not have multiple programs. So this person will be working with engineering firms agency-wide for the instrumentation and process automation, as well as any instrumentation now that we're adding to the plant here specifically, and then upgrading our pump stations. And that person will be the one that will be right there for the install to learn how that operates and able to work on it when something does happen later down the road. So again, as we're continuing to expand, getting new equipment replacement, it's going to be really, this is a needful position, so we don't have to contract. Like right now, I put in a call for Greenstone, so they got a technician that can program VFDs, and I got him on standby. Well, not standby, he's supposed to call me when he can work us in to come and program a VFD. And it's just, we need it now, but I gotta wait for somebody to come and do it. So that's the first position that I want y'all, would like for y'all to consider. The second position, it's gonna be kind of a multiple, and I don't really have a position name for it, but we've talked about over the years, the current CMMS, computerized maintenance management system we have, is not good, to say the least. It's hard for us to manage the work orders and the service requests with what we currently have. So me and Leanne, we have looked over the past last year and part of the year before.
2 years.
Yeah, and interviewing and looking at specific CMMS programs, talking with other utilities, see what they have. So we put together actually a really good scope of what we want when it comes to a new computerized management system that will help. It'll be exactly what we need and will be able to grow with us. With that being said, the position I'm wanting y'all to consider is basically someone that can come in and work from the get-go with whatever system that we choose to go move forward with to help manage that system. So what I've seen in my current, my previous at REWA, if you don't have somebody to manage the system, it becomes irrelevant, basically. I always say, take a quote from Ben Franklin, if something is not valued, it's not managed. So, and it goes, if it's not managed, it's not valued. So you need somebody that's here working with this program all the time, because there's so much that encompasses it. We gotta make sure that all of our equipment, every piece of our equipment is in this program, so you can manage and know how many times a pump or motor gets worked on. And with our new computerized system that we're looking at or wanting to get, it encompasses that it takes into account every time something is worked on, and it actually will have a life cycle of it, and it will tell you when it needs to get replaced or continue to repair it and rebuild it. So this person will be, like I said, the responsible roles that I have jotted down here is basically to oversee the CMMS software and to keep it up to date. And that's the key. It's entering, you have to input things for it to know what to do. So I don't have time, my field guys don't have time to sit down and do this while there's still stuff going on. So I'm requesting a position just when we able to get this, to be able to manage it, this system. So along with this position and then manage the position, there's other things that I would have them to do, which is they could help us order supplies. Any type of administration type that my supervisors could give this person to, hey, you mind ordering this, or do you mind putting in this requisition for us, to keep those guys out in the field working to where they need to be, not in the office doing paperwork and researching something. So those are the main two positions that I wanted to bring forward for consideration. Anything else? Yes, when it comes to.
Well, I think that's it. We got, for, now being in the retail business, having 2 additional pump stations down there, it was identified that we needed 1 additional conveyance person and 1, really, I think it called for 2.
It called for 2, yeah.
2 additional conveyance people and 1 or 2 maintenance people. Well, we're looking at just having 1 and 1 conveyance, 1 maintenance person as well. So, and then finally, somebody that can run and lead these projects, be it an engineer like what Seneca has with Scott McLean's position of project coordinator, project manager, somebody that would oversee the plan reviews, because right now we're outsourcing, I'd say 2/3 of our plans, because we've got so many. Just on line projects alone, I think I have, it's well over 20. And these are, some of these they may not happen, but just, that we received a request for a downstream assessment, anywhere from tracking that all the way through the ones that are currently under construction right now. And then, of course, the building plans that we have to review for many of these commercial projects, such as apartment complexes, restaurants, industrial sites. Most anything, we're going to be looking at plumbing diagrams. Even an office complex, we'll get asked about that, to take a look at that and find out if there's going to be the potential for a food vendor or something in there. The Thornhill, or is it not Thornhill? What's the name of the Thornwell? Thornwell, the Thornwell site. Working with that group, with just the shell space that they're going to have in there, because they say they may have future restaurants that are going to occupy that. So, right now Dalton's able to answer a lot of those questions, and we tasked him with a lot of the plan reviews for anything that would be involved in fats, oils, and grease. And I've also got him looking at other plans as well, just to become more and more familiar with, just general plan review.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying too that, with the way we do apartment complexes now, those are some complicated plans. So, with those, I have outsourced those because of the separated pipe from the kitchen dishwasher that goes into the grease interceptors that we now have as well. So,
I guess the biggest question I have is, can you find some people? and if y'all been looking around.
Well, we've got, we have 2 maintenance positions that are open right now, plus a plant operator. And we've interviewed, with one of the maintenance is a supervisor position, Mark's old position, and we've interviewed, is it three people for that. And, Kyle, that's gonna, ultimately be his call if he feels that we have one of those 3 that are qualified. I've sat in on those interviews as well. We have 1 maintenance, frontline maintenance position, and then again, a vacant operator position. So right now, staffing in general is just difficult because the same day Mark left, we had another maintenance guy leave to go to another, another higher paying job too. So it's still a market, built for the employee.
What kind of money? Just, I mean, you don't have to down the pigs or anything, but I mean, what?
Is it
what they
started
trade, what-
21, Kyle? Does that sound about right for maintenance tech? Does that sound, that's beginning? But like, we're not, the thing is with us, and this is something I think that Brandon Burton had brought up when he was on the board a couple of years ago, is something that may have been attractive for people, maybe of our generation, the retirement benefits and all that. I don't think you have that interest anymore in the young people. They're more interested in the take-home pay. Well, we're
Friday
taking
nights, when they
9%.
think about Friday night, Saturday
Yeah, we
night.
take 9% right out of their gross pay before they even get it for something that now is that with that rule of 90, that they're likely gonna be 60 or older before they would be eligible to retire, even if they start at maybe 18 or 19 years old. So, it's things like that we're trying, that Kyle and I, we sit and we kind of beat our heads together. We've gone and met with Carrie about ways to, to better promote what the employee is worth versus what their actual take-home pay is. But we had a guy interview with us just yesterday, and he's, and it's for a supervisor position. What was the beginning pay for that, Kyle? $31 an hour. He said he works in an electric, as a lineman. He makes over, he makes over 50 an hour.
Yeah, he's not gonna come.
No.
Well, he even said though he might be willing to take like up to a $10 an hour pay cut. But that's even at that, that's
That's
over
good.
half
Yeah.
the pay.
He wouldn't
That's
stay
over
long.
mid-range, but that's just kind of
That's
what,
the thing.
that's what we're competing against right now is a market for maintenance. And I know the cities have had issues hiring linemen in the past, maybe even still recently. But-
Kyle, let me ask you this, the computer electronics technician, whatever the title was. Are you gonna have enough work for that person to work 100% full-time on that? Or can we start out with combining, I would think there's some similarities between an electronics equipment control person and the CMS, right? They're gonna have some computer knowledge that's gonna cross over. Can we start with one person to do both?
I think the person that's gonna be, whenever we get a new computerized system, that person's gonna be sitting at a computer all day.
Well, if,
We're managing that system per se. So the electronic will be more, like a maintenance guy. So he's gonna be working right along with a maintenance tech, like an electrical. So, right now, we got a backlog of electrical type stuff that needs to be worked on because all of our pump stations is on missions.
Electric or computerized electric, right? When you say electronics control, I'm thinking piece of equipment that's got a software and a computerized control mechanism that needs to be worked on.
That's right. Yeah, it's got its own PLC, right? And that's,
But you're saying electric, like
Yeah.
tower electricity?
well, I asked the same question. The way Kyle described it is, so we don't have a dedicated electrician, mechanical person. We have combined. Our maintenance folks work in electrical and in mechanical work. Well, I asked Kyle kind of the same question, like what, kind of thinking along the same lines. Well, the way Kyle described it is The I&E is even they would be able to handle the electrical work, but they would be even more knowledgeable with the programming type stuff.
This person will hook up their
So-
computer to a PLC.
Right.
And know the script and everything, and to be able to program that piece of equipment, process, whatever it is.
But also
regular-
troubleshoot a panel.
But he'll be able to go into a panel and troubleshoot relays or something in a control panel.
Well, I guess, and I'll ask this question, because I think this is what Mr. Mulder's asking in general. Are they gonna be capable, or will they be expected to do just regular, like, if we have to rewire, if we have to run high voltage wire, will
That's
they
right.
be doing that? Will they be on call and pulling
Absolutely.
pumps after, cleaning
That's
pumps, pulling
Yep.
rags out of
Yep,
pumps?
this is just gonna be a specialized, this position will be able to do what our current maintenance guys do, plus some.
Well,
So they're not gonna be focusing 100% on computerized electronic
But
equipment.
that's gonna be their primary.
Well, the CMMS person, and Lynn this will be the first she's heard about this, but I talked to Kyle about it the other day when we were kind of kicking this around. What I'd like for that person to do, since they're primarily gonna be desk bound, I'd like for them to be able to do some of the work that Lynn may be doing with accounts payable, accounts receivable, possibly payroll, kind of as a backup to Lynn, because you guys know Lynn's bound. She has to plan every vacation she takes around the 2 weeks that we do payroll, because there's nobody else capable of doing it. So it would be to kind of back up and assist her with some of this as well, to free her up. She'll still be obligated to attend the meetings and everything else that we would need her to do, since she's the secretary treasurer for the board. But that's more where I saw the CMMS person helping out more so. I don't think they'd be able to.
Do you make her plan her sicknesses too?
Well, we worry about that, but that is kind of what I was thinking about, was being a backup or being able to assist Lynn with the CMMS, and that would be their primary position.
Any other questions, comments?
And just to let everybody here know, the reason why this all of a sudden now is gaining traction here and wasn't asked for, in previous budget years, is we're trying to, with this, trying to figure out about the feasibility stuff. And, I've held off for a couple of years, but Lynn has been pestering me for financial software, because what we have doesn't work, and I know, or doesn't work well. Kyle, they've been pestering me about a work order management system, because what we have now and have had for a long time just does not work. And I have delayed it, not knowing the direction we were going with this feasibility study. Well, now the recommendation came out of the committee, and we've got two members on that committee that are sitting here, that they felt that we needed to pursue the track that we continue as is, with modification and changes to the agreement. So with that said, I feel like we're at a point now to know that we will exist at least in the same structure that we are now, operating exactly what we're gonna be operating currently, which is the wholesale system, what we already have, plus the new retail system that is, we just hopefully we gain some more customers, but we just received the first permit to construct or permit to operate down that way. But the county has future plans to expand that system over time to cover that entire area, where we truly will have a small satellite system down there as well. So with that coming out of the feasibility implementation group and the budget getting ready to come up, that's why there's gonna be a big rush or a big push now for positions. There'll be budgeting for CMMS and financial software. So, because it has been identified that we will and shall exist, continue in at least the same capacity as we have been.
So with all that being said, we should anticipate 3 new softwares, right? So we're looking at financial, work order, CMMS, and 4 new positions.
Well, the CMMS is the work order system.
Okay.
So two
2 softwares and 4
systems
positions.
that are able to integrate with each other.
And you can, depending on which one you pick, you can get one.
Well, that's what we're looking at doing. So we have Lynn and Kyle back, was it a couple of years ago? We have an RFQ. It was drafted a couple of years ago, and I just sat on it because of not knowing if the outcome of this feasibility study, what the recommendation was gonna be. I didn't know if the recommendation was gonna be that we morph into some other organization and us sign an agreement and we, for the sake of it, I'll just say an agency out of Greenville takes us over that has their own thing and they're stuck with an agreement for something they don't need. Well, that doesn't appear to be the case based on the direction that came from the last meeting with the recommendation. So that's why and where we are with all of that right now. And, as well, these were items that were identified too in the consent order. And I believe that it wasn't just, I think that Wahala, it was identified in some of the consent orders with some of the member cities too about having CMMS for asset management and tracking work orders. And, it's a requirement that we have to do it anyway. We've got to keep the documentation in accordance with the State Department of Archives and History. Have it available. I think when we have inspections from DES, which we have once every year or so, they ask for work order history. We have to provide that to them. But that's where the hardware, all of that will come from.
So I know that this includes the possibility of voter action, but since we don't know the money, we don't know how the budget would need to be amended, or I'm assuming we are waiting for any action at this stage?
Well, it'll be incorporated with the 26 budget in that request. But I'm kind of looking now at,
Yeah, because we just adopted one not too long ago.
if we need to
I didn't know
shoot
if you
stuff
were asking
down
for an amendment or not.
No, there's no amendment for the
Okay.
current budget. Whatever we do is gonna be in the budget request for the coming year, July 1 cycle.
Well, if once we look at the budget and we all agree it's, a passable state, and you've got open position with available funding in this year's budget, knowing it's gonna be approved, I don't have a problem. I personally don't have a problem getting started with these new positions early.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously gonna have salary freed up in your budget because you've got open positions for so long. But I don't wanna make that decision until we see what the impact's gonna be on next year's budget.
Well, with the amount of work we've had to farm out this year because of the open positions that we've had, we've been eating away at money we would have been paying in wages too. So I think we just hold off and see, where we go with that. And I have, going back to the agreement with the county, I have spoken with Ms. Brock about that and let her know that, we're gonna have to have 2 additional positions. And my understanding from her is I think that they understand that as well, so we'll have funding to help out with that.
But if you can find the people, you better get them.
Well, that's the problem, is
You better
we
grab them.
can't find anybody. That's the issue.
Anything else on that one?
No, ma'am, I don't think so. Yeah, no action necessary. It's just kind of just a discussion and update if nothing else.
Okay, we'll move on to our December and year-to-date financials.
All right, this was sent out by Ms. Stevens on the 22nd of the month, and I believe she usually sends it out to the full board. So to give everyone an opportunity to take a look at it before the meeting today.
Anybody have any questions? motion to accept?
Motion to approve.
Motion and second, any further questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Action items for the board to consider the newest revision to the financial and accounting policy.
This is what I'm gonna let Ms. Stevens address, and she's the one that identified some of the conflicts, and I don't know that we had necessarily any errors, but that we, you know, some of the policies that we had hand-tied us and how we had to do things based on the way they'd been done, or made it much more difficult when it wasn't necessary, so I'll let her, mention this.
Basically, I was researching the policy for something else, and some stuff caught my eye, which was, it basically affected my job as far as what I do. So it kind of tied my hands with things that I do, like stopping payments on checks, or, making deposits at the bank, or, some fund transfers. We have, a merchant that when people pay by credit card with that merchant using our public accounting system, they can only deposit to one bank account, when we've got 5 bank accounts. And the things that they're paying don't necessarily go into just that one account. So everything gets put in that one account, and then I have to transfer money to where it belongs. So this was limiting me, that I couldn't do that I had to have somebody else do it. And I had pointed out that a lot of times when I do that, you know, it's as soon as I see you got the money, I know it has to be transferred, so I do it right away so it doesn't get forgotten about. And it was a very big concern to me that I would forget about it if I had to do the new route. So it was stuff like that. So you will see in section 3.6, which is on page 10, there's a whole new section in there that explains the things that I asked to have put back on my plate so I could do what I need to do. And we did check with Lawrence Flynn on this, and we also did check with Jason White to make sure everything was okay. And Jason added a couple comments about me having to, I don't remember exactly where it is right now, but there was something about when I make a transfer, I think it was within 24 hours or something, I need to let one of the authorized signers know that I did it. Stuff like that, just to, you know, keep it on the up and up. And then along with that, there's a table, which is table 1, which is under section 3. That they updated that too, because they added me. I'm now called a financial signer on this. We added that definition in here. But there's a column now for what I can do and can't do, to update that. So it was just basically to, as far as my part of this, it was just basically to make it so that I can do things that I've been doing all along, that it limited me from doing.
And we spoke with Lawrence because, you know, there's a few of these things where we had done the work and didn't know exactly how to address this, so Lawrence recommended that we continue to follow the way that we had done it and capture everything at one time by the board authorizing an approval. And I think it had to do with, was it transfers perhaps? And transfers are a common thing, and we get a payment for somebody that will pay impact fees and say plan review fees on a single check, and they go into need to go into 2 separate funds, so it's greater than we have to do a fund transfer. We track this on a paper document now, but.
Is there a second signature on that paper document when the transfers are done?
Yeah. So
you have dual signatures on any of that, all of that?
Mm-hmm.
It's handled the same way we would do with checks. Typically, the 2.
The majority of it looked like it was cleanup and clarifications. I mean, I saw the surplus amendment, the signing authority, obviously, and most of it look like we just clean up.
I think most of it was cleanup, it was just that we added that one section for me.
Yeah, I guess they included how our request to have all of our investments, domestic versus foreign. It looked like there was an amendment there. Well, I mean, I certainly think that if you're considered, or you know what your official title is, but our finance director responsible for all the finances, you ought to have the authority to do a few of those things.
I appreciate that.
Any other questions, comments?
Look good to me. That explanation. As long as there's dual signatures on a lot of the money movements, and it's there to protect you as much as anything else, so.
All right. Is there a motion to recommend this to the board?
I make a motion, we recommend to the full board.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
There goes Lynn's beach house.
As long as she doesn't go.
Go,
it's paid
yeah.
All right, executive director's discussion, compliance matters.
I just have a few miscellaneous things that I kind of thought of after I put the agenda together. We received feedback from DES on the sewer use regulation revision. It was sent in there, I believe it may have been in October, November timeframe. And they had 4 comments that they needed the attorney to provide clarification on as far as maybe a definition or wording. And we addressed 2 of those pretty quickly, and then we've got questions on 2 more. So I'm waiting for a phone call back from Casey Jarman with DES regarding those 2 questions. So hopefully we'll have that clarified. Once we get that corrected, then we can bring those to board, show what was changed. I think there should be. I think they're fairly minor revisions that they had asked for. One of them was, I think, even just one instance in the whole document where it still said DHEC instead of DES that they found that they wanted to fix. So I think that was one of the 4 of them. Hopefully I'll hear something back from them soon. We had another SSO line break on the Speeds Creek Force Main Friday night at 6 o'clock when they always happen. Right? So we had who made that repair?
Thrasher.
Okay, so Ben Thrasher came in as the emergency contractor. We had reached out to Tubular. They had other obligations, so they came and made the repair. The net spill was about 200 gallons. Kyle estimated that it was probably a 400-gallon spill, but we were able to recover about 200 of those gallons. It did not reach a waterway, so it's reportable internally only for tracking purposes. Consent order matter update, and this has to do with the Seneca Creek Force Main replacement. We've got a pre-construction meeting with the contractor and the engineer. The contractor in this case is working for Brent Little to do that install work, and I think that meeting's tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So hopefully we'll begin moving with that force main, because of the break that we had during that time frame, 2019, 2020, it was listed in the consent order. But besides replacing it light for light, we're replacing it for growth to accommodate in that area as well up to a certain amount. But the ultimate, way for us to correct and address all the growth in there for the next 20 years is we need to eventually replace that pump station. So, it's a start. We got the enforcement underway, and that gives us, I think there'll be another, 100 or so thousand gallons per day beyond what Mr. Little will be using that will be available in that enforcement, if I remember correct.
Who's contractor on that, remember?
I don't remember. It was gonna be Moorhead, and Moorhead had to back out for some reason, so I'm not sure exactly who they procured. It was one that I had not heard of, so I contacted Scott McLean and asked if he'd heard of them, and Scott said they did good work.
Okay.
So, I'll find out, let you know. The corrective action plans, that those letters have been sent, were sent to the cities back last February. We received the items back in October, I believe, from all the cities. And then we, went through them, Alice and myself, we have a team of reviewers for that. We provided comments back to the cities. We received Westminster's Friday afternoon, and then Seneca and Walhalla, we granted them a brief extension to be able to get us, the work that they needed done. I know Mr. Hinkle had reached out to Summit Engineering. I think he needed some input from them, so we received a letter. They'll be doing work for the city of Walhalla to address some of those, so we'll have something back from them as well. And that, H2S issues, City of Seneca, we're still, we thought we had the thing fixed. Then all of a sudden, we start getting calls on it again, with the staff, and besides just the general openings we've had, we've been bombarded with employees being out of work. We had a death in the family, a couple of, one pretty serious illness, and another one that, the flu hit us, so we had a hard time getting over there and getting our hydrogen sulfide loggers out of the field. I think they were able to do that. Have you been able to look at the?
Yeah, I was gonna go after it.
So when we get that data, we'll email that over, what those, what we're seeing over that way. Was it last week we were getting the complaints, or the week before? It seems like it was Monday, Tuesday, back to back.
3 weeks is, I can't keep up with what I'm doing. Yeah, I think it was last week or end of the week.
So we're getting, complaints are coming to us through, there's a point of contact in the Wexford area. I think that she's kind of the voice of the community. They may notify her, she contacts us. But, we heard from Senator Alexander about it directly. And then I think y'all at the annual members meeting, we had Matthew Durham sit in. Glenn Hart had called me about it as well. So I think he had gotten a call from someone over there, and I spoke to that person, and it was if somebody actually knew. And the person, that they live up closer to the end of Wexford, so I thought it might be associated with our pump station up there. But when I called, and we've been, been monitoring that one as well to assure that it's not us collecting samples and sulfide, liquid wastewater samples on it too, to have it tested. And she was actually complaining about it. It's at the entrance where we get them, all the calls from them all the time. So, we've installed the charcoal, activated charcoal filters in the manhole. So all of those, I think, except, is it maybe one manhole?
Actually, they supposedly went out there last week and done it. And on that one, yeah.
But the one that we can't do anything with is the pump station wet well itself. And, we don't know the effectiveness of those filters either. But the wet well, if, it could be the source of it, but what, is water is, I'll call it corrosive, for lack of a better term, but essentially what it is. But by the time it is passing through that short section of line to get into the wet well, and then the pumps come on and churns it up and causes that, we can't make it airtight. It's gotta be able to draw air.
What do you think, like a long-term solution might be that's?
I don't know. Light and Water has done a study with Garver, which is the same firm that we used over at the Martin Creek station. Well, you know, the Martin Creek station for us is a large, you know, what is it, a million plus gallons a day station. So the permanent fix there may very well be substantially different than what is gonna be necessary to have the other permanent fix, you know, somewhere else.
Have to look at each individual.
Well, we know that, I think what's been identified with us, it wasn't through a PDR, it's just a, you know, a preliminary study and investigation, but it was a liquid lime feed, is that correct, Kyle? And we're looking
Just
at,
conditioning the wastewater, I mean.
Yeah,
and I think it's close to $1 million. Is that about right, Kyle? $900 and something thousand, and I think that includes the first year or so of the line, but, you know, it's gonna require a construction permit from DES.
plus constant maintenance.
Yeah, but we have, you know, we currently have a feed out there now, and it's the same thing that Seneca's using, which is sodium,
Hypochlorite.
so, yep, so, you know, it's just a drip, but we got, you know, we still have issues on ours, like, you know, I drive home, it's right there where that force main discharge is just right there at that Family Dollar store that we've had all those complaints about years ago. Most of the time it's fine, but sometimes it's strong. We've got an issue as well that we've gotta correct. So, you know, we're right along there
Yeah.
beside them and trying to fight it, you know, but theirs isn't contributing anything to ours is created on its own, you know, much further downstream from the Davis Creek stations. But it's just been, you know, another issue that's been there for a long, long time. But, you know, it's something that I'm familiar with it because I think we had, I could be high with this number, but I might be, you know, right. We had up to maybe 8. And at that time, it was magnesium hydroxide feeds that we had over at REWA that we would have at some of these regional pump stations, like what Martin Creek is. And they bring in bulk tankers of magnesium hydroxide and fill these large tanks. I think REWA is switched. Have they gone to the liquid lime? We use liquid lime here. Is it usually in April, Kyle, when BASF shuts down? And that's for alkalinity.
Alkalinity, yeah.
So, but it's just an issue. And over Davis Creek, it's, you know, I've got documentation that's been going on since 2019, but it's gone on way longer than that over there.
If lime would help or work, that'd be great. It's just gonna be there's a lot of maintenance with liquid lime.
Yep. You know, like down in there, you gotta have
As long as it's got a
site,
flushing system on it.
Yeah, that's
That's the key, yeah.
you have to have site improvements down there because you gotta be able to get a truck, a tanker in there to make the delivery.
You have to have a tank with a mixer and maintain
But as far as, you know,
that. Feeds.
what the solution is for Davis Creek, I don't know what the answer is, and I don't know, you know, in a way, it's kind of trial and error, because
Let's see what works.
it's a moving target for a couple of years. This system just went in place, not all that long ago, and I think I kind of hit on that at that meeting that we had at the depot, that, you know, at one time, they were overfeeding it, and then there was concerns from their consultant that they were lowering the pH too much, and it was degrading the concrete.
Yeah.
Well, you make an adjustment, go the other way, and then you generate your sulfuric acid again and degrade the concrete. So it's, you know, it's just a balance in that, changing the water temperature, changing the air temperature, changing the flow. The amount of grease contributes to it.
All that was done when Hartwell Village was built, right?
Well, I think we've had issues over there even before Hartwell Village, when we had the Jacobs pump station. It may have even been Jacobs that was contributing to it for a period of time, but when we had that manhole fail in 2019, the concrete where it just collapsed, that wasn't something that just happened overnight, that was a long process that happened, but we've had, you know, we've rebuilt.
Over the years with that area.
We've rebuilt, I think, to reline every manhole over that way because of it. And I think as far as you know, they're in good shape. We just had it TV'd,
Yeah.
didn't we? And there weren't any, as far as you know, there weren't any comments back, but we had that thick, it's not an epoxy, I don't know what it is, more like, it's almost like a ceramic type application that, I think I passed a sample around up here several years ago, but that mainstay liner, there's a, you know, it's a, I don't know, it's maybe even close to 1/4 of an inch thick. You know, pretty thick application. I don't know what the answer to that is, but DES is involved, DES calls us about it, they're getting complaints about it, so. I wish it luck, that's, it.
What is the cost of this?
Anything else? Alright, any members' discussion, anything we need to bring up for future meetings? Alright, upcoming meetings, Board of Commission, February 3rd, next F&A will be,
Wasn't that one moved?
The March one's moved,
Did I move it on the wrong day on the calendar?
6th, I believe, March 6th.
I moved the wrong date, I did February instead of March. I have to fix that.
And that one would be, just to let everybody know, because I don't know if Mr. McKee was aware, because I think you've been under the weather, correct?
Yes.
Maybe out of the loop a little bit, so we had to move the March 6th, or the March 3rd meeting to the 6th for Daryl Parker to come in and give his rate presentation, and it's somewhat of a dynamic model, so he can plug in and make adjustments based on feedback and questions he receives from the board. But, I think we're supposed to meet sometime in the next, toward the end of February, he's gonna kind of present it to us and just kind of poke holes and see what questions we may have. When I say us, I'm talking about Angie, Metal and Nelson's as part of that feasibility program.
alright, February 25th work for everybody? We don't really have a forum that day? Alright, anybody say no, so we'll assume that is fine, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second?
Second.
Alright. Anybody in favor? Say aye and get up.
You got a meeting tonight? You typically wear a tie? Every day?